I forgot.
Dove McGuire, but Callie.
That's a long one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in trouble if you call me doctor anyway, so Callie is better than anything else.
Yeah. So, Callie, before you introduce yourself, what is the overall vibe at Vive?
So this is my first Vive, and so I actually kind of like it. It seems a little bit more chill than, from what I understand, is
never
normal.
happened. Yeah, this has never happened.
I like it. I mean, there was music when I walked in.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to fight that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I think we should say, loyal fans, those of you who are not here, it is a lot quieter than it has been in the past. Obviously, for me, and for anyone who is anywhere on the autism spectrum disorder spectrum, you would be like, wow, this is great. The lights are still a little bit too bright, but it is a lot quieter. Anywhere on the ASD, you're loving it.
Yeah. Well, as someone who feeds off other people's energy, I'm kind of having a hard time. So just want you guys to know, you can either be like, yep, or like,
No.
which has been all day for me. So Callie, tell us, give us your story. Tell us what's up.
Well, today I'm in Nashville, which is great. But by background, I'm an ER doctor. I turned informaticist kind of by accident. I didn't know that all the work I was doing was actually called informatics. Turns out there's a whole specialty for nerds like me. And I currently work at a company called Evidently. And so we're a clinical platform that essentially integrates with a EMR or any other data sources. We read everything, summarize it, package it, and then present it for whoever needs it, whether that's a clinician, a coder, a physical therapist, and researcher, anywhere in between. So we really kind of make it a lot easier for clinicians to do their job, patients get better care, and then health systems turn out to have a large financial ROI on it too. But I do product, so that's my shtick.
Okay, I have a side question. Have you watched The Pit?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
and
I actually love it.
I love it so much.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
Yeah, I love it, and like it's very accurate.
Feels very doctors who worked in ER say it's accurate.
Yeah, it's a little quiet. It's a little clean. Like those are my like
the real ER is dirtier.
Yeah, and who has iPads? And also they're never charting. So there are some some inconsistencies, but in general I love it. The part where they had to like take down somebody and there was something that was very like uncouth that happened and nobody acknowledged it, and I was like, there. That's what it is. Like nobody acknowledging it.
Okay, great. Wow. Important because you're an ER doctor.
Yes. Yeah.
To get your view on it. Is it 10 out of 10? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So like, what is it? I mean, as we know, EHRs are built for sort of billing and entering information, and then that information gets reported. You're saying that evidently goes above that and takes information out in a different way. So how does that happen? What are the actual use cases that are working well with people?
Yeah, so phenomenal question. And everybody kind of laughs when I say this because it's like all of them, but EMR, like it's in the name, it's record. It's a wonderful record. That's kind of where things go for, where you need to look for things for reference. The downside is that these days a medical record is between 400 and 1200 pages. However, the doctor's appointments are between 7 and 15 minutes. Like that math just does not work out. I cannot read The Hobbit in 7 minutes. And that's like the 400 version.
Right.
Like 1200 pages is on average. That's Count of Monte Cristo. And in 7 minutes, like I don't know any doc that
These are long books.
do that. These are long books. Yeah. And you do that like 40 times a day, like to see 40 different patients. Like it's just kind of a setup for failure. So we go in and read it for you. That's the kind of thing you can outsource to the robot. Because step one of any medical decision making is you have to gather the information, then you diagnose, and then you treat. And so I think right now most of our gathering of information is pretty flawed because I can't read, The Hobbit in 7 minutes. And so we're kind of making partial decisions on partial information across the way. And so where this matters is if you're a clinician trying to take care of somebody, you're like, okay, like you can take my mom, for example. I love her. She's a brilliant woman. But if you ask her what her medical problems are, she's going to tell you about the leg her leg that she's just got like stabbed because she was moving something on the farm, trying to move some trees. She's not going to tell you about her hypertension or her breast cancer or anything like that. So like that's the problem we are solving. We are aggregating the medical record, presenting it to the clinician. And one of our biggest use cases is other doctors. So they get essentially a chart that's prepped for them like a clinician would. And so they can just read the resident's report. It's like having a resident at the pit that just gives you the presentation and says, you get to say, oh, yes, I agree with you. Or no, I think we should do something else. Mm-hmm. But we also get a lot of traction on the coding side of it too, because we are all trying to make sure that everybody can have a bottom line that makes sense. And if all your patient's care is fragmented, it's really hard to understand how complex they are. So we make sense of that.
Yeah.
So Lisa and I talked about on one of our last shows, there was a post about increased competition in the AI space in healthcare, how like, last year it was like, nah, and now it was huge and now it's like massively buzzy. And there's a lot of, as a result, price compression around products. So what have you all been seeing in terms of competitors and just how your landscape is shifting?
Yeah, I'll double down into like the landscape shift. So we have a customer that's been one of our oldest customers, and a year ago we were like, hey, let's do a press release. We'd love to talk about the good work we're doing. We're taking off a ton of time where your patients get pre-opt, and they're like, no, we don't really want our patients to know that we're using AI. Fast forward a year, and now they're like, we're all in. Like, it's fine. We want it. We actually think that the risk is like much lower. So like, let's all go in. So I think like the adoption curve, that we're kind of on is also improving.
Right.
And then the compression part, I think if you're doing some of the generative AI, which is not what we do more, we call it cognitive AI because we're trying to say that it's not predictive. We don't do anything predictive. And we're trying to take away those low level cognitive tasks. And because of that, it's not just like a LLM. We're actually thrilled that the LLMs are becoming cheaper because it means that our business becomes healthier and the physicians and providers just get a better product now because you have that a little bit of compression and more competition in the model space. But you still kind of need a good view and a nice UI, and that's something that we kind of bring to the table.
Yeah. Right on. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so, why, just taking the other side of this, like, what's stopping an EHR company, one that starts with O and claim that they have rebuilt their entire EHR with AI in mind? Like, what's stopping them from doing this? Do you expect that there's going to be competition from the EHRs themselves? How does that play into your work?
Yeah, so I'm of two minds here. So as a clinician who takes care of patients, and as like a daughter with, I have my parents, I also have kids. I don't care who makes it better, but if somebody makes it better and they have access to it, like, more power to them, because the current status quo is the problem. And so I think for so long we've just accepted that the norm is, basically a patient handing you a binder when they come to me at UCSF, and they're like, oh, I came from, 3 states over, and they said I had to come to UCSF and bring you this. Yeah. I was like, okay, like, whoever can solve that, I'm kind of gung-ho. I do think there's different ways of solving it. And one of the things that makes our approach very different is that we're founded by 2 ML engineers that are geniuses. And the way that they process data kind of takes it to the patient as a source. So they're not throwing a large language model at it, hoping that something good comes out. We read everything, but we have our custom small and medium language models, so it makes it a lot more efficient. So instead of a bazooka, we're using a BB gun to have like a very targeted approach, which makes it, the latency is a lot better. We have a better UI. We have clinicians that are driving the product. So when you actually present something, it makes sense to a clinician. So we have a lot of layers as far as like what makes us a little bit different. But frankly, if anybody wants to do it, like, I kind of welcome it as a clinician because there is so much work to be done here that the more the merrier. I think the implementation is the hard part, which I think I've heard you say before.
The implementation is in fact the hard part.
Yeah.
Implementation matters.
Yeah. So I think that's where it kind of comes into the difference.
Well, and also I would imagine, I mean, there are so many different types of care settings, right? And there's so many different types of hospitals and ERs and whatever. And so I would imagine that implementation probably varies pretty significantly by health system or structure. I mean, because the way that you would present a case in one particular setting is going to be different than another setting, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think another like way that we kind of approach it is it's like the economy stupid, like it's the patient stupid. Like, we take the patient first and we kind of build off of that instead of going from like, oh, this is a primary care doctor, we're going to build down, and this is an ER and we're going to build down from there. I think the workflows are a little different. It's like the editorial, way we present the data is different, but the foundational data is the same. And so I think until an EHR is willing to completely scrap their data model and change it, and kind of present data differently, it's going to be really hard for them to do the things that we're able to do. So I kind of think of them as more of like, they're the record layer and we're the action layer that kind of integrates on top of it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, right? When you have these massive enterprise systems, it'd be very difficult. That's why I'm a little skeptical about what you say you've been doing, Oracle. It's very, very hard to entirely from the ground up, like, reimagine an entire data model at an enterprise level in different settings, and then somehow finish it and get it implemented into any of your, that would take a decade plus.
Yeah, I was actually asking them when I was like, oh, I hear you have this new thing, because frankly, like,
show me.
Yeah, I was like, so are you gonna swap it out? Are you gonna like do it alongside of it? Are you gonna like, how are you actually gonna like put this into your customers? Are you just gonna like turn it around and be like, okay, you no longer have this system. Here's your brand new shiny one.
Yeah.
And I'm still curious about how that's going to go
No
down.
answers yet.
I haven't
No
heard of it.
answers
Yeah,
yet.
Nobody knows.
Ken from Oracle, come on our show.
It's a mystery. I'm supportive, but
I'm
curious.
interested in Brendan's posted something on Trashgate, which I'm curious about with Oracle as well, but I have not dug into that link yet. That says, maybe he'll come on our show and talk about it. Question about AI again.
Yeah, go on.
Back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, if you don't have AI here, you are like not part of the game or discussion. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they give you the badge.
The Health Tech Talk Show has all of the AI.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so sophisticated. Yeah. Yeah, it's like one other post today claimed about some other AI company. It's actually real people sitting there. Our AI is Melissa. But anyway, okay, so back to competition, right? So here's the other question. So let's think about the hospital side. There's a glut of new AI organizations, companies, whatever, apps, all the things. EHRs are saying they're going to be the AI. Everybody's going to be the AI. So how does a hospital, like, what are tips that hospitals can use to figure out like what actually matters here? Because like every single person we talk to is like, we also do AI, and I'm like, what is important? Like, what should they be even thinking of?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit biased here, but I think
we're biased. This is the Health Tech Talk Show.
Yeah. So like operational efficiency wise, we found with all of our deployments that they actually get the best operational efficiency if everybody has access to the same information across the care spectrum. So that means the MA has access to, the doctor has access, that the coders have access to, and that the appeal people have downstream. And then you actually get those operational wins that people have touted for a long time but haven't actually been able to manifest. And you can't do that unless you have full data access, which we do, and you can't have that until clinicians actually like your platform. And I have this friend of mine whose name is Caesar. His famous quote is, "Doctors don't hate technology; they hate bad technology."
Yeah.
And so you just need, like, we have something that the clinician actually likes to use. It actually helps them do their workflow, and because of that, it's kind of all downstream from there. So if you're any healthcare exec, the recommendation is don't just choose like an isolated partner, like an isolated point solution, because there's just going to be some gaps. You're going to leave some ROI on the table if you have one point solution that gives a view that is different for a different either population or clinician or anything. I think there's too much you're just adding another layer of fragmentation.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking about that, because everyone we talk to is saying like, we only do revenue cycle AI, like we only do like clinical stuff AI. So, but sometimes, the argument for that too is like, is it best or breed, or is it better to do something that's all in one? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, debate's out.
Yeah.
I think like a unified understanding makes more sense than anything else. And you'll when you talk to a lot of our customers, they have the same approach. They're like, holy smokes, we didn't even think this was going to be an application for Evidently. And turns out some of our super users are physical therapists on the orthopedic floor that they just got a new patient that had a total hip replacement, but they don't know what happened. All they get is, a brand new patient on crutches. They open it up in Evidently, and then they can see, oh, they have like 6 other things. And turns out they have 6 flights of stairs at their house. Their physical therapy journey is going to be a little bit different now that I have that understanding.
Up all of those,
pulls up all that stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So, we talk a lot about like policy on the Health Tech Talk Show. What do you think? The government basically unalived all these AI assurance lab things and everything. We still got Chai hanging out, but allegedly
more like just took the oxygen out of the room and left with the oxygen.
It might come back next week.
If they can hold their breath long enough. TBD. I don't know. What are your thoughts on regulation for AI in healthcare?
Gosh. I guess ask me in another month, because I think it might be very different.
Or keep going.
So Lisa, I think anything I say right now might be totally aged in like one more week, because I think there's so much back and forth. I think if nothing else, the current administration and their approaches towards regulation, especially in like some of the science and AI stuff, has proven to be a little bit atypical. And so in this way, I think if anything else, they're taking the oxygen out of the room for some of the regulatory bodies. So I think before I would have been more concerned about a lot of regulation coming down the pike, and I think that's less of a concern for me in the immediate future. However, we do take care of patients, and I think everything we do kind of comes around to that. It's like, if we are not doing something safe, if something is wonky, like I cannot say that I would practice with some things. So like if I don't practice with it, I'm never going to support it. So there's what you have to do and what you should do, and we kind of operate in the realm of what you should do anyway. The hospital near where my parents live is actually getting our system. And I haven't,
Wow.
it's so exciting to me
Wow.
because I mentioned before that my mom is going to tell you about her leg
Right.
instead of any of her other medical problems, and all of her care is fragmented. And now her docs get a tool that just makes sense of it for them and just gives them a little presentation as if they had a resident that was like,
So great.
yeah, here's Debbie Dove. This is her history. It's like, oh, such a load off. So even if regulation doesn't catch up or if it gets some like setbacks, I still think there's going to be, keeping an eye out for the companies that are doing the right thing makes a lot of sense.
Going back to the product, your product person.
Yeah.
One of the areas that we've highlighted before and what it would be impossible for us to not hear from actual practicing physicians is how amazing they find this current generation of AI scribes.
Oh,
And it's just like one of the maybe an individual product, right? That just because of the way that it was designed and the actual problem it's solving for actual practicing physicians, clinicians, it just a groundswell of like natural support. So talk a little bit more about the product side and what physicians are really liking or enjoying or is making their lives easier that they didn't expect.
So
you didn't expect.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I built an ambient scribe at my last job.
We did not. We did not, but that's amazing.
Yeah. So that was I worked at Carbon Health. We were one of the first people to market with their ambient scribe, and now I refuse to use it for any urgent care appointment. Like I refuse to write my own notes for any urgent care appointment. I think it's phenomenal. I think where some of those ambient scribes like fall a little bit short is if you have a really data heavy specialty like oncology, cardiology, any complex medical disease. Then you need more of what's in the medical chart. You need to like have data-driven decisions. And so that's kind of where Evidently comes in, because we tell you what you don't know about the patient. Ambient Scribe tells you what you do know because you're capturing the real-time audio, but the two together are actually pretty killer because you get all the pre-charting understanding, all the data gathering from Evidently. You collect the real-time info from an Ambient Scribe, and like bada bing, bada boom, like your note's done and your medical decision-making is more clear, and you can just kind of like hit the ground running.
So is there also just kind of a built-in ambient scribe as well, or
no? We don't do anything ambient, but we do partner with some ambient.
But you would partner with ambient scribe. Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Any ambient scribe that you use, we can kind of show you where it comes in, and the synergy works really well. There's a doc in one of our. He's a pulmonologist, and he pre-charts everything with Evidently. He goes into the patient's room, uses he uses an ambient scribe, and then he comes back, and I think he literally does like 2 keystrokes to insert like his ambient into the Evidently note, and then he's like done. I've never seen a faster note that it was like a higher quality in terms of like actual like data. Yeah, it was
okay.
Awesome.
That's like magic for a
it was
physician,
magic,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know if you can see this, but it's like
I can feel it.
no, I can feel your enthusiasm.
As someone who needs the energy of others.
Oh man, yeah. I don't have to do that. Yeah,
There's nothing here.
Yeah.
But really though, it's like you're like at what point is technology are we going to make technology work for us and pull some of the burden off of frontline physicians and clinicians? Like, you know, when?
I mean, hopefully now.
It's 2025. Is it not?
I know, we were having this whole conversation too, and we're like, okay, you have all these health systems, like you constantly have to adapt your workflow to the technology that you're given. And that's one of the ways that Evidently is a little different. It's like, we want to learn about your tech, and then we're going to show, or like your workflow, and then we're going to show you the tools that might fit into it instead of trying to recreate the wheel. And so like, no, you have to stick it in this box to like make it count. Like, we don't try to do that.
Awesome.
So closer.
Yeah, that's exciting on our list now. So any final words for our all probably 5 live loyal fans?
Well, I want to know. Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Listen, this is unrelated.
We're not ending. She's ready.
Listen. No, it's like one question. So ED docs are like crazy.
Yes.
Like you guys, you're always the ones who become tech product people or tech CMOs. What was the jump for you?
So I'll tell you like one of the inciting events. So I worked at this rural healthcare system in the middle of nowhere, and they were very high acuity. So it puts the pit to actually it's kind of like the pit. Like every like 5 minutes you get another critical patient.
It's meant to be like a public hospital in a busy city, right?
Yeah. Except this in the middle of nowhere, no specialists, nobody was going to come for your backup, nothing. We constantly had patients that were overflowing in the waiting room. So the nurses would put in orders for us, which oftentimes I like to see my patients first, but that's not it was, any port in the storm was fine. So they were ordering things. And then if they had they would order a head CT for me. And the only way I would see if my patient had a brain bleed is if I happened to walk by the fax machine that had a paper in it.
Oh God.
And then I had to check it to be like, wait, where is
Brain
this
bleed.
patient? Yeah, who is this? And where are, oh, they're in the waiting room and they've been I was like, there's got to be a better way. It was not connected with the EMR. It wasn't anything. It terrified me. And that kind of like set me on the path for more like healthcare technology. So I was like, there's got to
That's
be
so
a better way.
cool.
So here we are.
I love it.
Over a
love
decade
it.
later. Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty
Well,
awesome.
thanks for bringing it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Thanks
gosh.
for having me.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
thank you so much.
So I just
And
exit stage
where
left.
where should
transition.
where should the loyal fans find you? Where should the folks
Find
find
me. Evidently.com. Don't use .ai. It's not us. We're the .com.
Oh, those are the other guys.
Yeah, those are a different company. And LinkedIn. You can find me under Callie.
On
Like
the LinkedIn.
Kalie. There's
Yep.
not a whole bunch of us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks so much for having
So
me.
nice. So nice to have you
an
on.
awesome conference. And our
Yay.
next guest.
Our next guest is up.
another doctor.
She's up. We only we
It's
we
too bad
only
the
like
camera couldn't
doctors.
see that. We only like doctors today. Oh my gosh. Welcome,
Lady
Oh my
doc.
goodness. So, oh my gosh, America. I feel like as the story
Hello,
goes,
America.
we often meet our guests at the bar.
We do.
And RT is no exception. So tell our loyal fans, because we don't actually know a lot about what you do either. So you're gonna have to tell our
I'm
loyal
in
fans.
healthcare.
We know
Yeah.
that.
Me too.
I know.
Yeah, introduce yourself to our 1 million loyal fans.
Okay, so first of all, I was told that I should probably say at the beginning of the podcast that my opinions are my own and not of CCS. So I'm just saying that now. Don't tell anyone.
This is
Understood.
between all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so about myself, I am
yeah.
a board certified internist.
Love doctors.
Thank you. Not everybody does actually. There are a lot of people in healthcare that don't appreciate physicians, but so board certified internist. I've had operational strategic roles in almost every sector of the industry except for pharma. Been in startups to Fortune 50. I've had my own business, sold it to a private equity backed company. Been in literally every site of care except for a penitentiary. I've seen a patient. So, and if that wasn't enough experience, I am also a cancer survivor. So I feel like I kind of know healthcare.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
it.
You know the
Unfortunately,
moves.
in almost every way.
Wow. Right on. So tell us what you're doing now.
Okay, so I am the Chief Medical Officer at CCS. We're a company based out of St. Petersburg, Florida. We've been around for 30 plus years and historically known as a leading and expert distributor for diabetes technologies, continuous glucose monitors, and insulin pumps. And over the past few years have undergone a pivotal evolution and transitioned into a chronic care management platform.
Oh, love it. Well, that seems to fit in with the current vibe of America these days. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
A lot of it. We have a lot of chronic care.
Yeah.
We got a lot of things going on.
So
Yeah.
they-
Yeah, we do. You know, one of the things I was talking to somebody about this last night about, you know, just Vive and digital health in general. I love the idea of digitizing, improving efficiency, right? All of that. But to me, it's when you say chronic care, like there are these big rocks that we need to solve for before
Yeah.
we, you know, get all these little rocks in there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, to your point, like there's a lot of it out there, and I think it's gonna, at the end of it, come down to I think the heart of healthcare, right? Which is
Yeah.
really about trust, engagement, relationship.
And are those the big
I
rocks?
still-
Yeah, what are the
I
big
think
rocks?
I think that's a big
Yeah.
rock.
Ah, those are big rocks, and you can't
I think that's a big
always
rock.
make the little tech make the big rocks.
No, you can't. And I think some of it is also mindset, I think is a big rock. You know, having spent time at one of the largest Medicare Advantage plans in the country, you know, you have an epiphany moment, right? You can, math is math. Insurance companies pay providers. And you could say to yourself as an insurance company, their revenue is my cost.
Uh-huh.
Or you could say, I'm going to pay you well to take really good care of my member. You're still exchanging dollars, but I think the faith in which you enter that agreement is a lot. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of big
Yeah.
rocks.
And
Don't get
can-
me started on the big rocks.
No, but and can we kind of sidebar on that, because that's a really important point that you. And it's not the current state of play for many payers and plans, right?
Yeah.
They're involved in the game of moving money around and stopping money from moving around.
Yeah.
And I know there are individuals certainly who think these are my members. I want to
Yeah.
help them get really good care and stay healthy. And yet it doesn't seem like that's really the status quo anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not to say, and I would not be one to say that providers and physicians and clinicians are never wrong and they never do bad things, but like that that mindset part is really important for
Yeah.
all of these players in the
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's off.
It is off. And I didn't realize how off it was until I became an active participant as a patient of it. Because then you start seeing all these things happening around you and you realize what's happening, right? You're prescribed a certain regimen at a certain site of service. It happens to be in a hospital outpatient department, but not in a physician office or not in your home. And you're like, oh, that's right. Reimbursement is better here. So I hear what you're saying. I would argue, though, that for it to get this bad, and I think we all agree it's pretty bad.
It's not good.
It's not good. No bueno.
No way.
That it can't just be one entity that made it this way. I think you had to have a lot of participants, a lot of capitalism, and frankly, a lot of just taking the focus away from really why we have healthcare in the first place in order for us to get here. In other words, nobody's innocent is what I would say.
We were just
Nobody's
talking about that.
nobody's
Yeah.
innocent.
Not even providers, not
Agree.
doctors, because
Fully agree.
yeah,
Fully agree.
Yeah, everybody's just chasing the almighty dollar.
Yeah. that's right.
Which, like, I'm often into.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
you know.
buys nice stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
So, I mean, I said, talk to us about trust being the big rock and like, what's the problem?
So, how many folks do you think right now would say they trust their provider to do the best for them? I see Melissa going, nodding her head.
25%.
I mean, I think people might trust an individual doctor.
Yeah. They might say, I like my doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, but not
Yeah.
like I trust megacorp sort of nonprofit hospital. To, like
That's
They
right.
bought a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, I don't. I trust the hospital.
Yeah, that was
bought
kind
a
of weird,
Super Bowl
right?
ad.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't say I trust this entire hospital.
Right.
Like no, or I
Yeah.
trust my health insurance provider.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think anyone trusts their health insurance provider.
They wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
No.
No, I think there's just a mistrust of the healthcare system. There's a mistrust of the hospital system, the insurance system.
Yeah.
I remember the commercial payer that I had at the time of diagnosis, I never heard from ever. Then I got my port placed, right? You get a breast MRI, you get CAT scan, you get a bone scan, and the ICD-10 code hits, right? Breast cancer. And there all these charges come in, and ding, the minute the charges hit, I get a call from, I'm not going to name the insurance company, but so-and-so, God love this nurse because she's just trying to do the right thing. She's a care management nurse. Hi, Artie, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't know my
Artie.
name. Hey, Artie.
You're like, no, not quite.
Yeah. Hey, Artie, I'm calling because we noticed that you were diagnosed with breast cancer and I'm calling from X insurance companies and I'm here to help you navigate the system. And this is 2 weeks after I had to run around trying to figure out the place where I could get the cheapest MRI because they wouldn't let me go to the place that was most convenient. So do you think I'm going to trust that person?
No.
Exactly. Right. So, and then when we going back to, I think, digital health, if there's one thing I've learned from all of this is, especially in the world of diabetes and cardiometabolic and chronic condition, which is what I'm living today professionally, is that if you want to move the needle, if you want to move clinical outcomes, any of that, right, you have to have behavioral change. These are behavioral diseases, right? You're making people decide that they want to eat differently, move differently, choose differently. And behavioral change doesn't happen with an app. Behavioral change requires a relationship. It requires a relationship with someone you trust that you're going to listen to. And I think that's where, again, back to the big rock, there's a lot to unpack in just like 10 minutes about the big rock. But that, I think listen, I come from a family of 20 something doctors. I grew up in a little village in India and healthcare is like in my blood. And I think it's a true like privilege to be able to take care of people when they're at their most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we've lost that. I don't know how we get it back. I think we do it in little pods. Hopefully is how we drive change.
That's like every time I actually interact with a real live human doctor in a care setting, which is not very often. It really is.
I am AI generated, by the way.
She's real. In a care setting, when I actually end up in the same room with a human doctor, it's almost always been a good experience.
Yeah.
But it's so few and far between to actually have one-on-one experiences in person with a doctor who's taking care of you in this day and age, right? We've moved so far beyond that for so many reasons, right?
Yeah.
But like that is absolutely a missing part. When you were saying that about sort of, you're obviously not going to become healthier because of an app necessarily. It reminds me as well as a little bit of the analogy to the, to semaglutides and magical, classes of drugs, right? Yes, going to work in certain ways for certain people, but it's absolutely not going to solve an entire like chronic health crisis, right? There's like a whole other set of things that are way more complicated.
Yeah.
And like, yay, we have one tool that might work well in certain circumstances, but it's not solving the whole problem.
Yeah.
You can't just stop there.
Yeah.
Well,
there are already, I mean, there's, I forgot the name of the company. It was a New York Times article where they're already, the ultra processed food companies are not going to go away.
Or something.
Right.
They're working on.
And they're already trying to figure out, like, how do you bypass
Yeah.
the
How do
GLP-1 signal that says you don't want to eat or drink or gamble or they're always.
What do we put in there?
It's an arms race.
Yeah.
Arms race.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not great.
I still think it's crazy. I mean, think about it. Did you ever think that there would be a brand new medication that came out on the market that you inject into your body once a week that people would just asynchronously text message with a provider and get shipped online?
It's wild.
Isn't that wild?
It's really wild.
I wouldn't even take a pill that way, let alone inject something in my
Yeah.
body. But you're right.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
It is really, from a social standpoint, probably the largest real world evidence experiment we will ever see in the medical field.
Data, by the way,
That's going to be really,
I want it.
Who's got it?
If you are watching the show and you know where the data is, like, let's talk.
Yeah. Come on the Health
I don't
Tech
have
Talk
it.
Show. We are real sometimes.
A lot of people are lost
Yeah.
to follow up.
Yeah. That's super interesting. I would think about relationships a lot, right? And like everybody says that, like even the one of the biggest outcomes of a therapy patient client relationship is the quality of the relationship, or that they like each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I feel like for at least growing up, a lot of what I heard in my early career was Rolodexes don't matter. It's like the quality of your product or like the way you message. And I'm like, my whole business is relationships now. And I think it's pretty clear that like people who are good at connecting and like care and can build trust are great at those things.
Yeah.
And then I wonder how that, because I feel like there's been a little bit of a swing, from the early days, like we can bypass these like super connectors, these strange people who we can't decode, right? They have a lot of power. Let's just say relationships don't matter. Well, that didn't work. And now what do we do now with like AI? Like, how does that impact trust in relationships when you don't even know who the hell you're talking to?
it's a
Like
really good
AI
question.
nurses as an example, which is like the talk of the day.
So actually, I have a question right back for how do you feel about AI agents?
Not great.
Physicians and clinicians, not great.
I
Right.
feel really, really, really not great about it. And Melissa's just running away.
Well, I think the next
very
guest showed
excited.
up
Yeah,
and she
yeah,
got
yeah.
really
No.
excited because she was worried they wouldn't show up.
I feel really concerned about AI agents because, again, everything comes down to that's not the next guest. It's Leslie Kirk. Just walked away. I feel concerned about AI agents. I feel really concerned because I know the data on which all of this stuff is trained is really, really poor and really disconnected. And it gives me great fear about, harms we can't even imagine because we don't understand the gaps in training data and any kind of safety parameters. And agents, something agentically acting, doing something is very different than like information being provided to you.
So excellent point. The seatbelt didn't become law until what, the 60s, 68, 69, right? A lot of people died. They came out much sooner. And to your point, what you're talking about is quality control and back to the trust thing.
Yeah.
How do you know that this company's AI agent is reliable?
Right.
And are they syncing with evidence-based, right? Guidelines? Like, are they syncing with UpToDate, for instance, right? Which is very, very curated, scientific, or is it connecting to the Joe Rogan podcast? Sorry, no offense, Joe Rogan, but maybe offense. But do you see what I'm saying? It just depends.
Remember, she had a disclaimer at the start of her segment.
I think I did say at the beginning that my opinions
These are these opinions only.
are these opinions.
I heard if you expose your genitals to red light, as Joe Rogan said, it does something. That was part of his podcast. No, that was part
Is
of
that
his
something he actually said?
This podcast went in a very different
This
direction.
is, you never know. Listen, I love red light for my face. But apparently it's for other things too.
That's right. According to Joe Rogan, not me.
Okay.
Yeah, not us.
Just
Not a-
giving an example
okay.
of a bad
So,
decision.
so the AI, back to AI
Don't trade
agents,
it on Joe
Lisa.
Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. But like, also like, is how do you disclose that you're actually even talking to someone who's or a not real thing?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
So
do patients have a choice in how that works?
Does
Really
the
good
AI nurse
question.
say
Because-
I'm an AI nurse?
Well, remember in one of RFK Jr.'s hearings or whatever, I think it was a live hearing thing, but
Yeah.
but he brought up, he's like, I was at Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic, and I talked to this AI nurse, and it was like and I was like, that is terrifying.
That's scary.
okay.
Like,
So can we go back to the trust thing?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got diagnosed with cancer, or you had a heart attack and you had a bypass surgery, or you had a stent put in. How does that feel during your recovery period to interact with an AI clinician? Now, I would argue that if the AI clinician came after, if my doctor said, right, if my oncologist said, hey, Arthi, I'm going to see you in person once every 3 months. And by the way, my AI agent, who is totally programmed with all of you can trust it, it's evidence-based, it's going to feel real. And if you don't like it, you can tell me and you can call me directly, but he's going to touch base with you every 4 weeks and check in on you. I think that's a very different experience.
yes.
And I would argue, even for, especially in the elderly population where you have loneliness, some of these guys, like we see this at CCS, right? People in the distribution world, it's like automate, digitize, order your supplies. But a lot of people just want to talk to a human being.
Yeah.
They just want to talk to a human being.
Yeah.
And in those cases, I don't know, like maybe
think they
it's like a
wanna-
way to just have a conversation. I'm not saying
Yeah,
replace.
But they want to talk to a human, though. I hear you. I think you get into a murky ethical
Yeah.
territory.
It is.
when there isn't disclosure. Like
Yes.
the first example you gave of like
Disclosure needs to happen.
the first example you gave.
The
is a
disclosure
really
does
good
need to
one,
happen.
Is to say this is a tool that my practice uses. It is trained on our information. It is secure. It is safe. It is private,
Yeah.
and it's getting back to us in an
Yeah.
automated way. That's a different story.
It is.
Than being like, just, well,
It is.
Yeah.
or we're
Yes.
calling you, an AI agent
Yes.
calling you to ask about your symptoms and try and duplicate
Yeah.
that thing. How would you have felt if actually that person who called you, who mispronounced your name, was an AI agent?
I would not have.
Horrible.
I wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
Like,
Samesies.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky
Yeah, but it
territory.
goes back down to safety, guardrails, seatbelts again,
disclosure.
because
Yeah.
disclosure, because also putting my doctor hat on for a moment, what about my liability?
Mhm.
Right.
Right?
Has
And
anyone answered that question definitively?
I
don't
haven't
think
asked
so.
In
the
Europe,
question.
they have. Remember that was
Which
the
is
that was the big
the
move when we
doctor's
were over there at the
liable,
health Europe. Yeah, the doctor's liable.
Doctor's
Oh, the
liable.
doctor's liable.
In Europe.
Even if the health system created the
The
physician algorithm?
specifically is liable.
so here, okay, can we go back to physician burnout? So
Yeah.
you're telling me everybody's burned
now
out.
you need to be liable.
Now
for an
you
AI
need to,
you don't
on
control.
addition to this, oh, we're creating a tool to make life easier for you.
Yeah.
But you're liable if it goes, I don't know, that doesn't feel good. No bueno.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel
Yeah,
good.
no bueno.
Also,
Yeah. Well, that was. I think it is still a topic of controversy. But
I think in the U.S., as we all know, everything has to play out in court, right? We have to see like the way we do this
We gotta
stuff.
sue some
The way we do
people.
this is that there's various types of private action that are taken, and then whatever comes out of that law, that case law, informs whatever decisions are being made. So I don't think it's been tested in a big way.
Right.
Who's liable? In
This
this
is too
situation.
new. We haven't had
Yeah.
it happen yet.
But it will.
yeah.
Yeah, if you
It's
have a
totally gonna happen.
hallucination, right, and
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
all right,
Wait,
sure.
one more question.
Yeah,
How do
sure.
you think we should regulate AI?
Oh gosh, I don't have an answer for that yet. I
Me
mean,
neither.
I think I would say that there needs to be probably federal laws, don't you think? I mean, can this be left up to the
So
state?
I don't
That's
think
not
this
gonna
is. I
happen.
don't think this is a states' rights thing.
I agree.
I mean, can this be a state right thing? That scares me a little bit.
I mean,
Wait, what do you think?
I think it should be federal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think
There should be some.
I think it's not going to be
some minimum standard.
I think it's not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be federal, and it's got to be whoever makes the rules can't be money guys in suits. It can't be lawyers in suits alone. It's got to be a well-rounded. You have to have clinicians. You've got to have literally every stakeholder with a strong voice. Otherwise, you end up in you know the situation we're in right
Yeah,
now,
it's
where
tricky.
people make decisions that
I
are clinical in
agree.
nature.
I fully agree with you, and at the same time, I do not think it's going to happen at the federal level for the next couple of years here. And so we do have to be careful and aware, and I think a lot of stuff is going to roll down to the states. So TBD on that.
This is America. We're gonna probably have some catastrophe first, and fix it later, which
Not
makes me
great.
sad.
Not great. Yeah.
Well, last words, Arti, to our loyal
Five
fans. I mean, just for now, not like
My
last
words.
Yeah,
Oh,
last
it's
words
like my
for-
last meal. What
for-
would I?
for your-
Okay.
I mean,
So long.
Yeah.
Last words. My favorite podcast.
that's what I'm talking
Aw.
about.
Pretty good.
Yeah, here we are. Health Tech Talk Show. I love that you were advised against speaking up behalf of your company.
Actually, I wasn't advised. I just watched a segment and I realized, okay, I probably should say this
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Smart. Very smart. Yeah. Well, you're the best. Well, we will see you later. We'll see you at the bar.
We'll see you later.
Yeah.
And happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much.
See you in a little
All right.
bit. Thanks for
Our
coming on the
next
show.
guest is which one? Doctor. Not Deck. You're not a doctor. He's just a regular guy.
Regular
David
guy, not a
Black,
doctor.
Even Health. Oh my gosh. So,
Yes.
where
Mic check.
did we meet David again? Where did we meet?
At a, I want to say Medicaid event in DC.
Did we party?
It was a Medicaid event in DC. I don't know that.
Doesn't matter.
Is that a
Anyway,
party situation?
I don't know. It's probably
we don't know.
depends.
But you know,
Yeah.
we've been,
Yeah.
but we've been drinking at the bar since with David here and there and everywhere. And so tell our loyal fans
Yes.
what you do.
Hi, loyal fans.
And loyal or little.
Both.
Maybe both.
Either. Yeah.
Tell them about yourself and what Even Health does.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, so we've actually rebranded to Cabana.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Oh, I knew that.
We're dropping the news right here.
Oh, are you serious?
It's about a year old, but it is
Okay.
for
Dropping
here.
here.
It's brand new news.
It's dropping here.
Yes. Yes. So we are focused on the gaps in care in our mental health care system. So fragmented system, lots of different providers, and about 54% of people fail to seek support ever. And we believe that there is a big gap between the meditation apps to reaching therapy. And so we provide
Yeah.
adjunctive support
Ah.
between as an earlier way to engage.
Okay.
We got our start with the military. So we are still serving the military. We grew last year from 100,000 people served to 1.2 million.
Wow.
So we
Good
are
deal.
we were built as an anonymous platform to help military individuals connect with others.
Hmm.
We blend community-based support with clinical support. So we run groups, virtual groups.
Hmm.
We've done about 3,500 groups since we launched.
Wow.
Amazing.
So we are a COVID baby, if you will. So we were born out of the SBIR program with the DoD, and then we have just grown from there.
Right on.
Amazing,
And
amazing.
included a name change. So
Yeah.
our
love it.
product is
Cabana.
Cabana.
I
Now
knew
the
that.
company is Cabana.
Cabana.
Yep.
Does it count if you download the meditation app but don't actually use it? Where is that on your spectrum of
It's a
gaps of
start.
care?
That's a
I got
start.
Lisa a subscription to Headspace last year for Christmas,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure she never
No,
used
that is not true. But what if you just hypothetically, if you downloaded it but never actually used it?
I think what
Where are
matters
you on the
is where you
spectrum?
where you see it. So it's a start.
Where do you see it?
That's
Lisa?
right.
Gaps in care.
Yeah.
Step forward.
Now we've
I'm in the
actually
gap.
we have built meditation booths. So we have this in a number of hospitals all across the U.S. for staff and patients to use.
Oh, that's cool.
And so some of it is just putting the apple out of the refrigerator. So if your app was a physical pod that you
Yes.
walk past every day, it would remind you, take 4 minutes, take 2 minutes. So we've done that, and
That's so
it's
cool.
super cool. You can pick a Thai beach, Alpine Lake, wherever you want to go.
Nice,
that.
nice.
Fantastic.
All those places.
So that's some pretty big scaling. Would you say you went from how many users to?
So serving 100,000 to serving 1.2 million. So
Okay, that's
biggest
a
thing
lot.
is we're working with the state of Virginia. So any veteran in the state has access to Cabana.
Oh my God.
Yep, and then
Okay.
and growing from there.
And lots of veterans in the state of Virginia. So
There are around 700,000.
The Commonwealth.
sorry,
That's the Commonwealth of
excuse me,
Virginia, correct.
sorry, people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's the Commonwealth.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so how would a veteran walk us through how a veteran is going to actually engage with Cabana and
Sure.
what's the journey look like?
So pretty simple. You have a path that you go through with the Department of Veteran and Family Services, and then you have unlimited access to Cabana. You use an email, you sign up. We're running about 35 groups every week, and you can drop into those groups. Most people are joining our groups within about 13 hours of signing up. So it is a scenario where you might have, this is hypothetical, it's not my real life, but you have an argument with your spouse and you see a group on conflict and communication. The group's about 35 minutes long. You can drop into that group. It's run by a professional moderator that has lived experience. So you can kind of pick your moderator like you might in Peloton.
Huh.
There you go.
And you can drop in. You choose an alias that you want. You can be fully anonymous if you want. You can put your real name in and drop into as many as you want.
Huh.
That's
Yep.
really
Fantastic. And is it like Peloton where it's like recorded, so it's might not be live?
We have some recorded, but mostly they're all live for us. Yeah. So small groups.
I'm sorry, everyone. Melissa is making all kinds of faces at me.
Oh,
She's on the
ready?
Peloton.
Yes.
So Melissa is a Peloton aficionado psycho. So
She
yeah.
has a Peloton class in a few minutes, is what she's saying, right? Yeah. So it's like-
She's good.
That's
Doing
awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so how do you think things are cruising right now with the new administration and focus on behavioral health?
So I think it's still to be determined. It feels like we're in a state of purgatory right now.
Agreed.
Understanding where the dust is going to settle, it's hard. Times like this, we're thinking about what is not going to change. So there's still going to be need. That is not, we're not going to overnight fix a behavioral health crisis.
Yeah.
There's still going to be challenges in the user experience and how folks access and what they're looking for. So we're just continuing to build into that space. We are spending a lot of our time at the state level, working with states, and waiting on where the federal space is going to actually land.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's, we see this as a probably 60-day to 90-day space where we'll be able to know what this means for us.
I
But
very
as
much
a
hope you're right.
community-based provider, we have clinical services that we can deliver in addition to our groups. Our main thing is just opening up access for different populations. And so whether that's coming from someone that is within the federal space and looking for support or elsewhere, we're going to be around for that.
And how does it work beyond the groups? Like, tell us about the other things that Cabana does.
Yeah, so we have one-to-one psychotherapy. We are building in medication management services. We have a range of daily support tools, and then we also have a decision guide that you can use. So if you're struggling with the challenge, you can actually work through our platform and figure out where you're able to get support. What do you need? Sometimes just getting the thought or feeling out of your head helps you understand whether it's a pattern or whether it's something that is just a one-off issue that you got in your life. So for us, it's raising your self-awareness. And then from there, you're able to navigate to what type of care you might need best.
Got it. Talk to us about the tech side of this.
I live it. It's
because you have people powered stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're not using AI. We were just talking about AI nurses and AI stuff.
Yeah.
This is like you actually have humans.
Yeah, so we have a moderator community across Cabana. All have been trained in military cultural competency, and that is our family. So there are individuals all across the U.S. That all have different backgrounds and different stories of how they got to where they are, and they are the only people that are on camera in the work that we're doing, and so you have a real connection to that individual. So for us, it is the technology that we own and build, but it is powered by individuals that are running those groups.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time in there, and it's so key to our groups.
Very cool. Tell us about military cultural competency.
It just means that you understand what it's like going through a military experience.
Yeah.
Just think through the language that you had to learn to understand the Medicaid space.
Yeah,
All the terms.
Yes.
QHINs, or what are we calling them?
It's not important.
QHINs, yes. Exactly.
It's not important anymore.
But in some cases, it does matter if you know.
Yeah.
So understanding who a guardian is, or
what are
where
the
the name guardian came from, little things like that. But bigger is just what it's like to change your locations, to disrupt your family every 2 years.
Yeah.
There is so much that goes into the military culture that the civilian community does not understand, has not had to experience firsthand. And so the more that we can train individuals that are supporting the work of the veteran community about what it's actually like to be in someone's shoes, to the most that you can educate people. And that it's a step forward.
Nice. Love it.
We are almost out of time, so maybe just tell us, where people can find your work, how they can get involved, anything you want to leave our two remaining loyal fans on this.
Two things. So our website is yourcabana.com. And then we also have, for nonprofits that traditionally are not able to provide a mental health resource for their staff, we have cabanaforgood.com. And cabanaforgood.com offers Cabana to eligible nonprofits in this space.
Oh, sweet. I'm going to take him up on that.
Yeah,
I need help.
And it's just making a resource that traditionally organizations may not have the resources to provide. So we've had a large population of folks joining and support through that.
Love that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nice to see you again.
I think of this adorable tiny little microphone.
And
Yeah,
someday
so
we'll be able to get,
I feel like my pinky should be flipped up on this. Yes.
Thank you. We'll see you at the next party, which is probably in a few hours.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
See you soon. Okay. All right. We got Rachel Jones. OMG.
So
you
you
and
and
I
I
met.
we have met on the internet, but not in real life.
So listen, loyal fans, I met Rachel at an oyster bar, which is a variation of the theme. It was an oyster bar, not a regular bar.
Yes.
And then we caught up at our kids orchestra competition.
On the line.
And I had seen Rachel on the internet. It's Rachel, right? Not
It
Rachel.
is Rachel. Yeah.
You never
AEL
know
was
because you got
everybody
that. Yeah.
else. It's okay. It's
Okay.
all right. It's
And we
special.
care
Special sauce
about
seasoning.
names.
Thank you.
We do.
Names matter.
Yeah, so
Matter.
so we caught up,
Yeah.
and it turns out she is co-founder
Founder.
of
Yeah.
value-based care.
Not care syntax.
Shit.
Which is hilarious
Syntax.
because, well, different
Jesus
story,
Christ.
different day over drinks,
God.
but there was an issue with that. But syntax health.
Syntax health.
Syntax health.
Value-based care.
Value-based care is correct.
Oh, well, at least I got that
Yes,
right.
yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
I know.
Actuarial intelligence for value-based care.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell
Yeah.
our loyal fans, tell them about
Sure.
your background and tell them about the company.
Yeah, sure. Jamaican Jersey girl,
Oh.
living in Georgia.
Melissa, Jersey girl. These
yeah,
are both Jersey
we
girls.
had that conversation
Oh my
just now.
gosh.
201 stand up,
Oh my god.
Three Jersey girls. Three Jersey girls.
right next to each other.
Oh my
Jersey
God.
girl too?
No, I just know a bunch and love them.
Oh, okay.
I know them and love them.
That's all right. We'll
They have
take
the right
that.
vibes.
We'll
They
take
have the
that.
right
We'll take
vibes.
that. But 30 years in healthcare, leading half my career at operations teams such as Anthem, Health First, running their analytics and operations there. Other half on the product side, leading places at TriZetto, now part of Cognizant, their product teams back then, and most recently Cotivity.
Mm.
I led the quality and network
Yep.
intelligence solutions there, and
Yep.
before we started Syntax. And so Redesign Health, which is the company that incubated
You're a
Syntax.
oh
I'm
my
a
goodness.
Redesign
I told
Health
you this,
company.
by the way,
Lisa,
everyone. I
listen,
told her this all last night. and she forgot.
Did
It's
you?
okay,
She
so,
told
you
me
know.
last night. That's bullshit.
Literally.
It's all right.
A few
You know,
drinks
I give grace
Thank you.
because we're
Thank you.
moms and we've got a lot of shit going on.
Look at that
Wait, can I curse on this show?
Absolutely.
We got a lot going.
Yeah, we had our last count, our last live show, 59 curse words.
Oh, okay. I just
In
saw
1 hour.
that. I just saw that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah, I love
So
who's counting
keep
it.
it coming.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'll be nice. I'll be good. I tell my son to like,
You're
you
like,
know,
tone
be
it
well,
down.
be well,
Yeah.
be well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So spent all my career in this space, and honestly, I'll tell you a personal story. One of my first provider meetings at Anthem, got all gussied up, my fancy power suit, flew down to Georgia for a big meeting with a big provider system. We had all our defensibility and our data to show them why they had not gotten a check, right? Because they were in a value-based care program, they did not win, and we were ready to defend why. And the provider looked me in the face and said, "You set me up to fail."
Ooh.
Because where were you, right? We entered into this agreement with you all in good faith. We did all the things. We got the care management platforms, got the community health workers, did all the care gap closures, did all the things that you told us to do, and you're here telling me why I didn't get a check. Why are you here now? Where were you 6 months ago?
This is actually right back to our earlier conversation, right?
Trust.
Big
rocks.
But it's also like, who are you? What is your goal? Your goal should be to keep your member healthy if you are a payer, right? And so then having that adversarial relationship with a provider in a value-based care arrangement, that's what you're talking
It's
about.
counterintuitive,
Yeah.
and it's not the intention, right?
Right.
Value-based care is supposed to be at its core a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if the provider wins, the health plan wins. If the health plan wins, the member wins. You have this virtuous cycle, right? But we've created the goal without creating the infrastructure of supporting that goal.
Yeah.
So where Syntax comes in is we bridge that gap. We bridge that financial and operational and clinical gap, because the reason why that provider was upset, rightly so, the health plan can only do so much in giving you information about what's happening. The health plan has to cover all of the different provider organizations and programs. And so you're going to get information at a high level. A
Right.
dashboard here, a quarterly snapshot there. That's not actionable.
Yeah.
What do I do with that, right?
Mm.
So I don't believe the health plan is intentionally not giving the provider information. It's just hard to scale that without a platform that's purpose built to do that. Right. So that's why we created a platform to allow for either health plan or provider to have the ability to have the insights, to have a digital contract that is matched to the data. And as you're looking at that data month over month, you're saying, am I tracking towards my target that I thought? The assumptions I made a year ago, we all know how fast things can change, right? A year ago, I thought I'd have this membership, I'd have this quality, I'd have this utilization. Oh, but guess what happened? Exchange. And now my membership went from Medicaid to the exchange. That changes all the math, right? You shouldn't have to wait until the end of your measurement period to find out.
This is really exciting for me because
You're excited.
back when I worked at the CMS Innovation Center, at the time every model stood up its individual tech stack per model, as you probably know now through your journey with
Definition of
Syntax.
inefficiency.
That's right. And so then they started doing, cross-model work, and
Yeah.
they're still doing cross-model
Yeah.
work. And, my organization now is involved in some of that work. But there was always this incredible, really pervasive problem of very, very out-of-date data.
Always.
And just like looking backwards in time. And
Always.
you're like, okay, this is data from 3 years
Yeah,
ago,
that's
and we're
usually what you
trying to
have.
make decisions
Yeah,
right now about
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
so I love that you're looking at that from a like, how do we get the most real-time data possible, most real-time insights possible, because otherwise you can't be successful in these contracts.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know that it's not an either or, it's yes and, right? True healthcare actuarially sound modeling does require historical data.
Sure.
Because you have to look back to make a projection on looking forward. You got
What
to
is
find the
compared to
patterns.
what, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But where you fall down is you only look at the rear view mirror and you're trying to use clinical data to tell you what's happening right now.
Right.
And that's sort of like apples and, cucumbers. Right? Because clinical data is not what's going to actually run through the reimbursement system. The health plan only cares about what we paid for. Right. So what we do is say, keep your clinical data. That's important. Understand your gaps in care. That's important. But let's marry that up with what the actual contract is going to give you credit for. So if you're investing in this program, there's going to be a payment attached to it at the end of the day.
That's really great.
Yeah. So, question for you about what you think is going to happen next in value-based care, given the state of chaos and drama.
Oh my God. Well, it's good for business. I'll tell you that.
That's what you say.
It is good.
It must be an Atlanta
Change
thing.
is good for business
Change is
in
good for business.
healthcare, period.
It's good.
It is, because I'll tell you two things. Value-based care is like that unruly teenager. I have a 14-year-old. We call him Ennui. Like he's got like this situation where sometimes he loves us, sometimes he hates us, right? Value-based care is in that teenage stage. It's about 16-year-old. It's just got his driver's license. It doesn't know what it's doing yet. It's still crashing its cars. It's fine. But the thing about it is the more people getting involved, the more we can expose what's wrong with it. And we can try to find what I look for is that harmony and standardization in the methodologies, not in the payment models. I think it's important that you still have diversity in models because not one model works for all different provider types, right? What we want to get to as an industry, though, is more standardization in the methodologies. What are the quality metrics that matter across the board? What are the attribution policies that make sense? Because let's not drive providers crazy with all 15,000 flavors of ice cream.
How many are they supposed to look at?
And then this
billion?
administrative burn problem is going to get worse, right? So Medicaid right now is a super exciting place for lots of reasons. One of the reasons, though, is because they're starting to really embrace value-based care payment models. But Medicaid is a state by state by state program. So you imagine having 50 different quality scorecards, a national payer trying to manage that, how, right? So we're really excited we're excited about the ability to, one, create some efficiencies through a platform that allows you to look at all these, like we have clients right now that have 63 different quality metrics.
I believe
in
it.
our platform, they can line them up and they can see, oh, these 20, if I get these 20, I've hit all 5 of my payers. Boom, let's focus on these 20. Right? Because it's like an 80-20 rule, right? At the same time, I'm excited about folks like the HCP LAN who are pushing for more standardization across all payers so that these providers who are trying earnestly to do well can have a little bit of reprieve from trying to manage 15,000 flavors of ice cream.
Right. That's wild. So tell us more about that effort. Like, how is it going?
Our effort or their effort? Whose effort?
All the efforts.
I'll tell you.
How do we reduce the flavor management?
So the flavor management.
management.
Yeah, let's have like. I don't want all vanilla because that's not exciting. But some Jimmy's, right? Some, a little bit of caramel sauce is great, right?
Absolutely.
So
different toppings, fewer flavors.
Different toppings,
Ooh,
fewer flavors.
Look at you.
Trademark
It's
that.
like it's like she's a PR girl.
It's like we've heard that a little bit. So 2 things. Where it's going for us as a company is meeting folks where they are. I think the most frustrating thing to do in any endeavor is to try to bang your head against the wall and trying to change things that aren't ready to be changed yet. Right. So for the providers who are dealing with 85,000 flavors, our platform at least helps you to streamline and look at which are the common things across the board and focus your resources there. At the same time, advocating with organizations like HCP LAN, like the National Association for Community Health Centers, who's here this week, who are trying to embrace value-based care as a strategic model, helping to educate and support and advocate for these programs is really important. Because the more providers, especially primary care providers, who get involved in value-based care, the better.
What is the typical provider type and size that you serve?
Yeah. So for us, the sweet spot is clients who or providers who have enough lives to take on risk. And I know that's a vague answer, but I'll tell you why it's vague. It differs depending on the population.
Got it.
For a Medicaid population or a commercial population, that might be about 35, 40,000 patient lives that you're seeing consistently year over year, right? And you can have some pattern recognition, some continuity of care to say, these are the members who should be attributed to me under my population health agreement.
Right.
For a Medicare Advantage population, that could be smaller because that could be 10,000, 5,000 lives because the premiums on those are significantly more.
Right.
And if I miss on that, I miss big.
They have
So
more money
it's
to
really,
work with.
It's really
Yeah.
important to
Yeah.
get that right. So it really depends on the mix, but mostly we see independent provider organizations, ACOs, and community health centers around that 35, 30,000 life mix makes them big enough to take on risk because let's face it, taking on risk is risky.
It's risky.
Right.
Right?
It really
Taking
is.
on risk, right? And so you need to understand that you have enough infrastructure and reserves and stability to take on that risk in value-based care if you're looking to take on risk. There's different ways to tap your toe in there too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
One more thing really quickly. I know I learned about your company through Redesign and obviously saw you guys kind of building out from there.
Yeah.
You and your team are very, very active otherwise.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
did not take any of this entrepreneurship journey lightly. You are out on the road. Your
If you're
team
gonna
is.
do it. My catchphrase
Right.
is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. So like any notes or any advice for folks or, tell us a little bit more about that particular part of the entrepreneurship journey before we get cut off by Melissa. It was looking like she wants to cut us off.
Sorry.
We gotta, if you
Yeah,
don't-
yeah. Okay, cool.
We're technically in charge, but
Yeah, but not really.
No, everybody's got a boss.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So the question is about the journey of entrepreneurship through
Yeah,
redesign or in general?
For you,
For me,
in this company.
Well, I'll tell you in full transparency, starting a startup in my mid-40s was not my bingo card. I had fully intended to ride the corporate wave and just keep climbing that corporate ladder and be a corporate queen. And something happened in 2019, right before the pandemic, where I was at a point in my career where I felt like I was missing three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. I really wanted to be in a role where I could leverage this experience that I had in a way that was meaningful to me and that I could have some sense of, to your point, controlling my destiny, even though we all know we don't have a lot of control, but the ability to at least have a say in a vision that I believe in. And I believe that, maybe it sounds hokey, but I believe that once you are clear about your intention, the universe opens up and kind of provides you opportunities to say, okay, are you serious about that? And so Redesign came along right around that time.
Oh, wow.
And said they were looking for someone to start a company to solve this issue of infrastructure for value-based care. And I'm like, I think I can do that. And my very first text with my co-founder, I said, I think I'm gonna do a thing. Are you with me? She goes, where you go, I go. And that was it.
Love it.
That's so amazing.
I'll tell you what, it's good that we were just doing a little podcast this morning about it's good to have a team.
It is good to have
Team is everything. Team and community.
Yeah.
No one, I think is a proverb. I don't know if it's a true African proverb. They're all African proverbs, but it says to go fast, go alone, to go far, go together.
Yes.
Love it.
See?
Fantastic. Well, that is a good last.
That's a good
quote
one.
for our last.
All right.
Tell just really quickly before we go,
Yes.
tell people where they can find your
You
work.
can find me on LinkedIn, Rachel Jones, and also Syntax at meetsyntax.com.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Lovely to meet
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye,
We're
America.
done.
See you later.
See you on Friday.